So last night in Nova Scotia, the NDP government was thrown out. The Liberals won a strong majority with 33 seats. The Progressive Conservatives got 11 seats and the NDP were reduced to 7. The NDP Premier, Darrell Dexter, even lost his own seat. Here's the new Liberal Premier-elect, Stephen McNeil.
I will do my very best to respect and trust and make sure that as I travel this province, my actions reflect you, your views, your values, and the commitment of the people of Annapolis County. Tonight we celebrate, tomorrow we go to work. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you for your tremendous support.
And here's the defeated Premier.
The Democrats have shown that we can be more than critics, although it looks like the people want us to be critics again, with our ear closer to the ground. I wish the new government well, because I respect the people who chose them.
That's a nice thing to say. And here's the PC leader and the new leader of the opposition, Jamie Bailey.
What a great night to be a progressive conservative here in Nova Scotia. Thank you. Tonight shows that when you have the right ideas, when you have the right plan, when you have the people of Nova Scotia in your heart, you cannot keep a good team down.
Look, I love Nova Scotia. How could you not? Though I confess my experience has been limited to Halifax and Dartmouth. But those places make up almost half the population of the province, just over 900,000 people altogether. I confess one of my favorite things about Nova Scotia is its great Canadian hero. Its father of Confederation, its first premier, a troublemaker named Joseph Howe. Howe was Nova Scotia's first premier, but he almost wasn't. He almost went to jail instead. As a young man, Howe was a newspaper publisher of the Nova Scotian. But in 1835, when he was just 31 years old, he dared to upset the establishment by reporting on widespread corruption of Halifax police and politicians. It was a scandal. And he was charged with the crime of seditious libel, a crime for which truth was not even allowed as a defense. Well, Howe defended himself passionately, personally addressing the jury for 6 hours. It was an amazing exhortation for the young colony to live up to the British traditions of liberty. It was great. You can read his legal defense in full on the Nova Scotia Legislature's website. It was a wonderful moment for free speech in Canada. The judge called for a conviction of Joseph Howe, but the jury freed him. And he went on to oppose Confederation. I like his independent style. But when Canada was formed, well, naturally he became the premier. What a hero. Anyways, my point is that Nova Scotia has a glorious history of freedom and small government, but that has sadly changed in the past 170 years. Normally, switching out an NDP government for a Liberal government and moving the PCs into opposition is baby steps and incremental improvement, but not really. I mean, they're all the same out there. All three of these parties believe in the fundamentals of the welfare state. All of them believe in high taxes and high government involvement in the economy, high regulation, which is why the place has an unemployment rate of almost 9%. And that province-wide number masks the worst of it. See, Halifax has a respectable unemployment rate. I mean, it's a government town, the capital city, a naval city, hospitals, and if you can believe it, Nova Scotia has 7 universities, 7 for a population of less than 1 million people. Compare that to, say, Calgary, where I come from, just over 1 million people, which has only 2 universities. Anyways, government work is good in Nova Scotia, or at least in Halifax, but outside that main city, it's bleaker. I mean, take Cape Breton. Unemployment there is more than 15%. And here's my point about all these parties being the same. All three of the parties were for a moratorium on oil and gas work. They call it a moratorium on fracking, but look, in North America, outside of the oil sands, 90% of all oil and gas wells are fracked. Its standard operating procedure has been going on since the 1940s in Texas. It's not some weird or newfangled thing. It's how money is made these days, but all three parties were against fracking. So if you're not working for the government, and if you want a real private sector job that pays 6 figures, pretty much you got to move to Toronto or Alberta, which hundreds and thousands of Atlantic Canadians have done, probably hundreds of thousands, Or at least the young ones have all left. If you're a pensioner, sure, stay in Halifax. If you're a student, there is no better place than Halifax. If you work for a government union, it's gravy. There's never a recession when you work for the government. But say you used to work in coal or forestry or fisheries, and those jobs are gone. You've got to leave the province if you want to make some money. That's not a theory of mine. It's a demographic fact. It's why Nova Scotia is one of the oldest provinces in the country. The median age of citizens is almost 44. I'd be young there because everyone young leaves for greener pastures. That's not just bad news economically. It's terribly sad for families to have their kids and grandkids move away from home just to find work. And here's my point. Saskatchewan used to be the same way. Did you know that? For decades, that province was dominated by the NDP. They called it Red Square, you know, it's shaped like that. Big taxes, big regulations. The only people who won were public sector unions. Young people all left for Calgary as soon as they graduated from school, and the six-figure jobs of the oil patch there. The NDP even tried to say that was a good thing. Their last NDP premier actually said, and I quote, more of Saskatchewan for the rest of us, as in, we didn't like you young entrepreneurial types anyways, get out of here. Well, now the problem with all the takers staying and all the makers going is that soon you can't reverse that trend because every election it's more and more takers. And the party of the makers, well, their voters have all left for Alberta, right? I mean, think of Detroit. There's just no way now that an entrepreneurial, low-tax, low-government party could ever win there anymore because all the non-government people, everyone who's either not working for the state or on welfare, has just left the city. And the car companies are pretty much the last ones to turn off the lights. But Saskatchewan pulled out of that nosedive just in time. Under Brad Wall of the Saskatchewan Party, they declared the province open for business again. Agriculture, sure, but mainly natural resources, potash, uranium, oil and gas, tons of fracking. The province is booming again, and young people have come back in droves. Saskatchewan is a great place for young families again. It's a great place to get a job again. But the thing is, it took a conservative party that really was conservative. They're not even called conservative. They're called the Sask Party. That party actually supported jobs. And that meant, yeah, jobs drilling in the ground for oil and gas and uranium. The exact jobs that the so-called conservatives in Nova Scotia have called for a jobs moratorium on. Yeah, they say fracking moratorium. I say jobs moratorium. A young person's moratorium. It's the truth. But hey, baby steps. I'm sure the Liberals will be less awful than the NDP. And maybe, just maybe, one day Nova Scotia's PC party will learn a lesson from Saskatchewan of how to break a 60-year winning streak by the left and win an election and save the province at the same time.